Hey dearies, I'm June of June Sketches and welcome to another video. This year I decided to participate in the November Art Challenge Huevember by McLeod. If you're new here, I'm Roxanne, more well known as June. Basically, the videos I make revolve around my emotional and mental journey and how it relates to my art. I explain how my art is affected by my mental or emotional state of being, as well as how these things overall affect my physical health. They're all quite relative. So today's topic of discussion is why I decided to join in on the fun of coloring monochromatically. Now, you might be wondering, how does this relate to mental health? I have a few reasons, but mostly because of one thing. I have envisioned creating more artwork centered around listening to Georgiana since the year began. 2020 has been more than just a roller coaster, but one thing that I wanted to stay as is was my plan to create Huevember art pieces. I was unable to participate in Inktober this year, scandals aside, because of personal issues and just taking a break due to an injury. So I really wanted to get back into the rhythm of creating. Huevember was a goal I didn't want to shirk on. Back in 2018, I actually somewhat participated in the art challenge, creating 4 pieces. They were also listening to Georgiana characters, same as what I'm doing now. And I enjoyed it so much back then that I just had this vision of tackling even more characters, even more story, and expanding my portfolio in regards to Georgiana related things. This was something that I'd planned way before, and just something that I really was looking forward to doing. Again, if you're new, here's a little bit about what I'm talking about. Listening to Georgiana is actually my fictional novel, based quite loosely on my life. It's about a girl who's struggling with depression and anxiety, whose life strays away from the planned path. In her attempt to stubbornly and naively deny the things that led to her instability, she ends up in an even bigger mess. So to save herself, she decided to prioritize herself and ends up in a mason where she meets people like herself. The story revolves around her telling her story in her very biased point of view. When I wrote the story, I was 17 years old and hadn't really come to terms with my own struggles. I didn't even know it had a name. So at the start of writing it, I wasn't sure what the story was even about. In listening to Georgiana, the story begins when she's 23, some months from turning 24. The reason for this is because around 21 or 22, I decided to rewrite the entire story and projected myself as a 23-year-old who was essentially tearing the societal norm that had shackled her for so long. It was a dream, you could say. I was convinced that I could never be that person. Lo and behold, my real life story is now in an embellished book. So if you're interested in reading the story, I post twice a week on Tapas. And I'm also working on getting it both as an ebook/PDF and as a printed novel. More info on that way later, probably not in this video. So, returning to the topic of this video, why did I want to do Huevember with listening to Georgiana? If it wasn't already obvious, I have a special love and connection for this novel. It's a connection that brings a lot of excitement and endless ideas, which is a big driving force for me when I create. I've been with Georgiana for the last decade, and it's been an interesting decade to say the least. To give you, my dears, a little info on the characters I've drawn out for this video. The first one was Gemma, Georgie's sister. She plays a villain of sorts in the story. Obviously, to reiterate, the story is from the point of view of Georgie, who wasn't in the best place at the time. So a lot of Gemma's scenes or parts or interactions with her in the story are of her not so nice actions towards Georgie, because that's what was prevalent in Georgie's memories. The second was of Dana, who Georgie meets at the Mason. She is, I would say, the nicer version of Gemma. Georgie sees her as an older sister type of figure, and in L2G, she is often in a library because she loves the atmosphere. Back in 2018, I drew Georgie in the library, and I really wanted to throw back to that without placing Georgie in that room again. So I chose Dana instead, who has a much bigger connection with that setting. The library is basically where Dana likes to stay at the Mason, and so I just thought that she fit that idea much better. I did put her in a side of the library that didn't have any books, but that's because I just see the entire library in my head, and like the scene and where she would usually be is where I see her, and that's where I drew her. In hindsight, obviously, that was not a good choice since no one actually sees any books and can't connect library to Dana, but because this Huevember was more for me, it made sense to me. Anyway, Dana is probably one of my favorite characters, and I look forward to delving deeper into her character in the second book. Yes, second, but that's a different topic video entirely.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now, to where we started out. Get me out of now, to where we started out. La 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 la, oh, oh. Get me out of broken hearts and starting fights, turning truth to lies. Gotta get up, stop wasting time. Yeah, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find some.
This third girl is Sunshine, or Sunny. She is one of Georgie's closest friends, and like Dana, we don't get to know her until later. Despite being a best friend, because Georgie did run away from her life by going to the Mason, I made sure that the good memories are memories that Georgiana doesn't focus on as a sort of plot device. So this art of Sunny is not really specific, and just like Gemma, it's kind of muddled, and it just has the portrait of the character. And the fourth and last is Sister Pema. She is based on my teachers, who I looked up to growing up, and the purpose of her character is basically the same as that of a teacher. Someone who is both an authority figure, but also someone you could relate to and trust on a deeper level. Sister Pema is one of 4 characters who listens to Georgiana throughout the novel. She encourages Georgie to speak up, to socialize, and to involve herself in the things that matter to Georgie, right? So just like a nun, even though she's not a nun, she will be a nun in the future, but she's not a nun now. She really, she's on top of like pushing Georgie to get better. Even though Sister Pema is pretty much a side character and has little impact on Georgie, she still manages to be a part of Georgie's life and growth. At least in comparison, like to other characters, she has little impact. And that is all 4 of them. Check out more of their information on my Instagram because I do have even more details on each character. I was really pumped to make this video while drawing these ladies out. Look forward to some male characters throughout the latter, maybe 1 or 2 in the first half of November. I basically matched the colors to the personalities or aura of each character, and strangely enough, the male characters I've chosen to draw match with cooler colors, which is not to say there aren't any girls in that category, though it is to say I have more female characters than I do male. They truly are outnumbered. I also chose some characters who don't show up in listening to Georgiana, but will show up in the sequel, just because I think they play a significant role that Georgie wasn't able to discuss in the first. Again, if you're interested, the novel is on tapas with 2 more chapters left, so you can totally binge read if that is your thing. If you're hesitant on jumping into a novel, I did a reading video of like a small part of the first chapter to give you some idea as to how the book will be like. So if you're interested, you can check that out. Anyway, that's it for now. Remember to hit that like button so I know that you enjoyed my ramblings. I'll see you in my next video, most likely Huevember Part 2. Thanks for watching. Bye!